What is up, and welcome to No Agenda, where I have my internet friends come teach me stuff. Today I'm sitting down with Taylor Offer, who will be teaching us how to run a profitable e-commerce shop with 0 employees. I know you don't spend all of your time running feed, Taylor, but I know you're also super busy, so I appreciate you taking the time here.
Of course. Thank you for bringing me on. Whenever I can chat with you, I love chatting, so I'm always around.
Amazing. Yeah, I remember we connected a couple months ago, or maybe almost a year ago at this point, talking just content and stuff. I was like really interested in all the stuff you've been doing on social media, and you've been super supportive of the videos we put out as well, so I appreciate all that.
I mean, I love your content. You're honestly one of my favorite creators for both the brand and on your personal. So I love watching you. And I think I remember I saw you and you had like a couple thousand followers on TikTok, and I was like, this guy is going to blow up. His content is so good. He gets every part of my life. So it's awesome.
I appreciate that, man. Also, I mean, in going through some of your stuff, like for a pretty young dude, you've lived a lot of life, and you've got a lot of sort of like introspective thoughts as well. So I'm excited to get through all that. Let me do a quick bio for people that might not know you. So Taylor is the founder of Feet, an apparel brand that makes comfy clothes that look and feel good, including the softest hoodies. I'm really pissed. I was going to wear your hoodie to the thing, but I'm traveling and I'm on the road. I'm in San Francisco, and so I don't have it with me. But softest hoodies in the game. I can firsthand testify to that. He also runs a digital advertising agency called Taylor Parker Agencies, Forbes 30 under 30 a few years ago, a bunch of other accolades that we don't have time to get into, and has a very fun social media presence, specifically LinkedIn. You crush on LinkedIn. I don't know what it is about LinkedIn for you.
LinkedIn's fun. It's funny. That was actually my first job after school. I was working at LinkedIn. So I've been posting on LinkedIn since 2015.
Right.
And it's just such an amazing platform, which we can probably get into that later if we don't go into it now. But LinkedIn is just a gold mine for any content creator.
Well, what is it? Because for me, one, I see it as a great place for white space where there's not a ton of other like good content. You're in a sea of like these like LinkedIn thread posters that are very cringe, and so your content looks good just relatively. But also, I mean, did you learn anything at LinkedIn that you were able to bring to your strategy?
Just how powerful the platform was, right? And like the biggest thing I learned was because I was working with creators since 2015, like with Viners and YouTubers and Instagram. And the biggest thing is like you have to ride a platform when it's content deficient. You have to ride a platform when the platform needs content, when there's more people eyeballs consuming than people creating.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn's that platform. Like everyone goes on LinkedIn all day, but no one's creating. So the platform needs content.
It's relatively new, right? Like for a while, LinkedIn was pretty anti having, what let's call it not corporate or not corporate friendly content. Like I remember my friend Ross, corporate bro, got banned at some point because he would, and he's not doing like crazy raunchy stuff. He was just like a little bit off the rails. I think you actually mentioned in an interview that you got banned off LinkedIn for a sec.
Oh, I've been banned like a couple times for like such non-bannable things, it's frustrating, right? Like you build up an audience and then you try to log in one day and it's like, nope, you can't even log in. Like
what were your slaps on the wrist for?
Just stupid things like having a yellow background on my profile picture and like, oh, this is not a real profile picture. I'm like, it is. I just changed the background. Boom, ban. I'm like, damn.
What?
I got banned and locked out for a week.
Yeah.
It was when like the GameStop stock was going crazy. And I was commenting on it. I was like, that's messed up. And then next day I couldn't log into my LinkedIn profile. And I was like, oh, shoot. And like, it's just ridiculous things. I posted actually like, I'll repost memes often because it's funny, like you talk about LinkedIn, like the content there is so bad that if you just post anything even decent,
average,
like,
yeah.
It goes amazing. People are like, this is crazy. I could post memes that like I saw on Twitter like a month ago, and I'll post them on LinkedIn like after it's all done. People are like, this is news. Wow, you're breaking it to me. This is so funny. So yeah, it's just like that was scary for a while. Now, luckily, they have a LinkedIn creator program that I'm a part of, so I have a direct content there.
Yeah.
So when I do get slapped on the wrist, they get me back in quickly. But yeah, it's interesting to see how different platforms handle creators and work with creators in different ways.
I have noticed that as well. LinkedIn has been the most active. Like I think it's the only platform where I actually have an account manager, even though I have a way bigger following on other platforms. But like I have a person that checks in and like tells me when there's new features and stuff like that. So definitely feels like it's been an emphasis. Anyways, yeah. I also came across somewhere where you said, because this is very on theme for what we're going to talk about today, which is like, I have an idea, I have a product that I want to sell, but like there's a million steps between that, or in my head there are, and like launching an e-commerce shop and actually making it into a profitable business. You said in one of your interviews that everyone should have an e-commerce shop. Why is that? Or do you still believe that?
I think maybe not everyone should have an e-commerce shop, but everyone should have a side hustle that they make money for on the internet. Everyone with the internet, I think there's a traditional way of thinking about jobs where you have one job and one source of income. And to me, it's like, that is so obsolete. Like everyone should have 10 different revenue streams, and 10 might be a lot to manage at first, but there's so many ways to create revenue for yourself. And it gives you more leverage, and you should have different opportunities. It's so, I don't want to say easy, but there's so many opportunities to make money on the internet that you should be doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, creating content is just one route. That's honestly kind of an exhausting one. I like the idea of an e-commerce shop because it's way more scalable and way more hands-off. And I hope we can get into that some of that today. But let's give some foundation for like, how did you start Feet and where you're at today?
Yes, I started the company in college in 2015, my senior year of college. It really started by like just not wanting to go through the traditional world, right? I did an investment banking internship. I wore a suit and tie every single day, and I worked my butt off to get an investment banking internship. And it was hard, especially coming from a non-target school. I networked like crazy, applied to thousands of internships, and just went full locked in. Yeah. Finally got this coveted internship in investment banking, where your first year after school, you'll make over 6 figures. You'll work 1 million hours a week. So I did this internship. I wore a suit and tie every day, and I went to this office every day, and I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, these people are miserable.
What year is this?
This was in 2013 or 2014. I was like my junior year of college.
Okay.
And I thought I wanted to go into this world and career path so badly because it was so coveted and everyone talked about it like that. And all the analysts and associates who were a couple of years out of school, like they were all overweight, chain smoking cigarettes, drinking 12 coffees a day, pale skin, like
hated by their partners,
and they just hated life and everyone hated each other. They were so mean to each other. And I was like, this is not an environment I want to be in. Like, I thought I wanted this. So that made me think like, shoot, I got to figure out, there's got to be a better way. And so that's what sort of Feet in college. Just, it came from the idea of I had to wear a suit and tie every day. And I'm very adverse to the corporate world. I'm very adverse to, like, even now, if I go into a corporate building, it just feels stuffy. Wearing a suit and tie, I feel stuffy. So I started making these socks.
Yeah. I don't think you're alone, by the way.
I think everyone in our generation feels that way. And I think it's, I hated that feeling. So we started with socks. We made super fun, bright printed socks with camels or pineapples or different fun patterns of them, avocados. So when you could wear your suit and tie and you had to go to work, the one thing you wear that was fun was your socks. So you started with fun socks, started selling a lot of those in college. Senior year, we sold 20,000 pairs of socks, which is pretty nuts. Like, we go to Ross, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, buy every pair of white Nike or white Adidas socks we could find. We had a big heat press, and it looks like a big panini machine.
Yeah.
And we print out these papers, sublimated papers, and you press the design into the sock. So one by one, we'd be pressing these Nike socks and selling them around campus. And that's how Feet was kind of born, just out of that, not wanting to go into that stuffy world and wanting to express ourselves in a better way. Okay.
And then eventually you scaled that business. You expanded beyond just socks. At what point did you start like really, because I know at some point you started working with influencers and selling like serious. I mean, 20,000 is amazing, obviously, but like after college, is that when you guys really hit your stride?
Yeah. So then in like 2015 and 2016, it's hard to go back to that time and remember, like, it was 8 years ago, and 8 years doesn't sound that long, but like at that time, brands didn't even have Instagram accounts, and brands were saying, why would we post on Instagram? We're a company. That's a photo sharing app.
Right.
And nobody worked with influencers. People thought influencer marketing was this crazy concept. And I remember it was right around this app, Vine, was coming out. So I started watching all these Viners, and I'm looking at the view count, and I'm like, these people are getting millions of views. They got to be able to sell products. So I just DM'd every single Viner. And I would just DM them, hey, I started this company. I'd love to send you a big box of socks, see if you like it, and we continue talking. And a couple of them started responding to me. And the first person responded was like, sure, you could send some socks to 1600 Vine Street in Hollywood. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. It's a Viner, and they're having me send socks to 1600 Vine Street. That's crazy. Like, maybe they're trolling me, because I was living in Boston at the time. And I was like, so I shipped the socks there. And then another Viner responded the next day. It's like, yeah, send it to 1600 Vine Street in Hollywood. And then another person the next day, 1600 Vine Street in Hollywood. I'm like, what the heck is going on in this building? So I started watching all their videos, and it was like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Amanda Cerny, King Batch, Lele Pons, Rita Mancuso, Justin Bieber. They all had to sit. Bieber was living in the building for a while, and you can see he was.
Oh, wow.
All these apartments, they all had the same. In all these people's videos, they all had the same door handles in their apartments. They all had the same finishes. They all had the same. And I was like, shoot, they all live in the same apartment.
Like the 2015 version of like Sway House, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But anyone could move into this building. So I was like, all these people live here, which makes sense, right? Like they all are from different places throughout the US or throughout the world. They're all moving to Los Angeles. They want to collaborate with each other because that's how you grow, is by collabing and making videos together. So it makes sense to all live in the same building.
Yeah.
So I flew to LA, snuck into the building, saw all these people here, went straight to the leasing office. And I was 22 at the time and like didn't really have money. And they're like, the only unit available is a 2-bedroom and it's like $4,000 a month. And at that time, like at 22 years old, I'm like, $4,000 a month, that's so expensive.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'll take it. And I'll figure it out. So I signed a lease there, moved into the building. And that's how I got to meet a lot of these people. We ended up doing a campaign with Logan Paul that sold hundreds of thousands of dollars with one post. We did campaigns with a lot of really cool influencers, people like musicians like the Chainsmokers, athletes like Chad Ochocinco and Ali Raisman. So we did a lot of different collaborations with a lot of people in that world. And that's how I kind of got into that world and understanding how much I love content and how much I love this idea of influence and social media.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think you've mentioned the figure, something around like $500,000 with Logan Paul and then a bunch of others as well. And this is still in feet sort of like 1.0. Like this is right out of college. You're still selling mostly just socks, right? And you guys are growing more than you can imagine. Were you guys able to bootstrap this entire operation or did you end up taking on venture?
So in 2016, I want to say we raised about $1 million. And then from there, we were able to pretty much bootstrap it for the next 7 or 8 years, profitable growth, which is, it's interesting. It's like, I didn't know about the venture capital world.
Yeah.
I know that was an option. I thought your business had to make money every single day. And that's kind of the mentality you still have. And it's interesting because it's hard not to feel anger or animosity as you're sitting on the sideline and you're saying, I have a business that I've been grinding on forever and we're making real profits every single day, every single month, every single year, and we're building off cash flow. And then you see someone else go raise, especially in the direct consumer world, where these companies started raising tens of millions of dollars on not that great of businesses. And then the founders getting all this press and they're getting all these things and they're talking about the next unicorns or whatever. And I'm like, wait, that business spends $200 to acquire a customer to spend $100. Like, how does that business make sense?
Right.
But yeah, it's been interesting just growing the business the right way, it seems. And being scrappy, and it's got us here.
Yeah, I think that's part of what I've appreciated, but just like learning about how Feet's grown. I know some of the experiments were more successful than others, and some led you to kind of a weird place. And that tends to be the case, I think, when, or at least it seems common, when things grow really quickly, then there's some sort of like, holy shit moment where the sky falls down. Did you guys have that?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like the sky was falling down every single day. And it's like, it's almost got to the point where it's like, you just get so used to surviving and having your back against the wall that it's like nothing phases you. And, you know, the business has had millions of dollars in the bank account, and the business has been hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt where we couldn't pay payroll and figuring it out. So you kind of go through these cycles, and it sounds bad to say, but you almost become numb to it. And then, you know, the first time you go up and down like that, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then you're just like, oh, cool. Like, we made $100,000 profit. Okay.
I kind of see that as a superpower for you though. Like the ability to like tune that out. I don't know if there's something that if you like grew and developed into it or if that just comes native to you, but like I get a weird text from my boss that like has undertones of, you know, whatever. And I'm like freaking out, to wake up one day and be in debt, or like the story about, I remember coming across a story. I don't know if you want to share like a big order you guys had around the holidays, and like things like that would just completely drive me crazy.
I think it's just like scar tissue, or it's just like, I wish it was like, there's like a magical mindset or like a magical thing to do, but it's like, you just got to get punched in the face enough times. You're like, okay, punch me again. It's going to hurt. It's going to bleed. And okay, punch me again. And I mean, yeah, we've had everything that could go wrong has gone wrong with, you know, whether it's employees, whether it's with external partners, or whether it's just with the business not working and us not planning well, and whatever it is. Like, there's been so many times where it's like, you don't want to get up in the morning, but when you do something so difficult where like, we had credit cards due for hundreds of thousands of dollars and not a dollar to pay our employees and no inventory to sell. And we're just like, what do we do? When you can get it from that, everything else becomes easy because it's like, oh, well, it wasn't as bad as that. I always look at, I got into running and just different physical activities, whether it's biking, running, or like extreme physical activities, pushing myself. And to me, it's like, if you go run for a 20-mile run, it's like when you go for a 12-mile run, a couple weeks later, it's like, oh, that's easy. It's not 20 miles. And I kind of feel that way in business. It's like you do something so extreme, it's like it kind of sets your bar. So it's easier, not easier, but not as hard.
What was the worst time that you guys had?
Oh, shoot. There's been so many worse times. There was a point where there was one day this is probably the best story. It was like a Tuesday morning. And I've never been in that deep and dark of a place. It was a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. I was sitting at my desk and I was like, I have to go. I can't be here. I couldn't physically be there. And I went straight to the airport with just my JanSport backpack and nothing else. I said, I'm leaving my phone. I'm leaving my computer. I have a JanSport backpack with one hoodie in it and one outfit and my passport. I need to go. I called my mom and I was like, I'm going somewhere. I don't have my phone. You can't contact me. I'm okay, but I need to go. And I just booked a one-way flight to the cheapest, furthest place I could find. When I got to the airport, it was Thailand. It was like a $400 flight to Thailand. And I booked a one-way flight to Thailand with no technology, no anything. So I was like, broken, fully broken. And there's so many times where I've been fully broken like that. And that's where it's like, shoot, like it's just part of the journey. And, I'm really grateful for it because it makes you stronger, but I don't wish it upon anyone. And it's very difficult.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that. Like, burnout is obviously not a good thing, but it's almost like you wouldn't have learned that lesson had you not gotten to that super deep and dark place. And I don't know, some people are probably better at managing the levels as hard things come their way. But that's definitely how it feels for me. And also the thing about the best things can be happening to you externally while you're internally going through the worst things. It feels almost like inversely correlated.
Always. And that's the craziest thing to me is like every level of like external validation I got from the world is when I was internally the lowest.
Right.
Which makes me think like it's just all BS. Like it just doesn't.
It's all bullshit. Yeah.
It is. And especially like I've been named to all these lists and I have all these publications and there's all these things that happen and the world says, oh, that's awesome. And it's like, even like when we launched our store and we launched our first retail store, that was most recently, like 3 or 4 months ago, everyone was going nuts in my external world. That's the most amazing thing. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't know how much that store just cost. Like, we haven't even made a profit on that store. We've lost so much money invested today. Like, I hope it turns around, but like, when you're congratulating me on spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a store that I don't know if it's going to work. Like, it's just like, it's so interesting. So it got me to stop caring about external validation, which has been awesome because now I'm just like internally motivated because I don't care at all what other people think or say.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, we can go deep philosophically about all this stuff, but I think it's awesome that you've been able to sort of pull yourself out of that sort of like treadmill of trying to reach the next milestone and the next milestone and the next milestone, because whether it's a promotion or a raise or press talking about you or something like that, it never seems to live up to the expectation. It always falls short. It always feels a little anticlimactic. It always feels like a fuck, like now what moment when you're supposed to be like celebrating the most. So
yeah.
Anyways, let's shift gears into you teaching us how to run a profitable business with, at some point you had 0 employees. And I know you and your co-founder work on this, but it's not your full-time job. I guess like walk us through a little bit of like the setup of personnel and dedication it took to Feet. Obviously super hands-on at the very beginning. Where have you been able to get to now? And then I have a bunch of questions like about the specific elements of running an e-commerce business that we can just knock out one by one.
So, it's interesting as I'm the type of person that just jumps into the deep end and tries to swim and figure it out on the fly. So this business has had many variations. We've had massive in-house teams. We've had fully outsourced teams and we've had 0 employees, and we've had 20, 25 employees full-time in-house. So I've kind of seen and done it all. And it's, It's been interesting. It really depends on the business and what path you want. The biggest thing is like, what are you optimizing for? And it's like, are you optimizing for being as profitable as possible today? Are you optimizing for building a massive brand value? Do you want to build a business you want to sell in 5 years? Do you want to build a business that you want to pass on to your kids and they pass on to their grandkids? So,
what's yours?
It's interesting. And I've teetered many times on it, right? Like when the business isn't going well, in my mind, I go, fuck it. Let me just sell this thing and move on, right? Like, and I think every founder has those thoughts. And when the business is going really well, you say, when you're getting approached by people trying to buy it, you're saying, hell no, we'd never sell it. Like, this thing's my baby. So it depends on the day.
What are the things that cause the swings? Is it external, like is it the economy and macro environment, or is it, your dedication, the amount of time you're putting in and the influencers that you've worked with that year or something like what are the things that actually cause the waves?
So the waves, and as an entrepreneur in the journey, the waves, some are justified and some aren't. So like one big wave that's happened recently in the past year and a half has been iOS 14. So Apple changed the way ads get served and what data gets passed back to Facebook, and our ad performance fell off a cliff. And that's justified. That was a massive industry change.
Yeah.
And that drives me in a negative wave, right? And then some things are unjustified when it's like an employee like missing a meeting and then not showing up and then telling you like that you emailing them and being like, hey, we really need this done today, and then not responding, and then just responding with a K 2 minutes later. And you're like, fuck this. Like, I'm working so hard. They don't get it. They're going to respond with a K, like, get your shit done. Let's go. Fuck. Like, so it's like, back to mindset. It's just like, there's so many different things that can affect you in such negative ways, especially in the beginning of the entrepreneurship journey for everyone. And I'm sure you feel that way on your social media journey, right? On TikTok, it's like, there's times you'll be like, the algorithm, like, fuck this. Why am I even posting? I put so much work in the video. It's not working. Or this person commented like, you're not even that funny. What the fuck? Like, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, it's just like, there's so many triggers.
It's so true. And then there's like operating on different platforms can lead you to different success. I mean, there's so many factors that can affect you. That's why you try to control the inputs as much as possible. But if we were to get like really at least tactical about the things that you absolutely need to run an e-commerce shop. So I've broken up into, there's 5 things, and there's probably more, you can tell me, but choosing a product to sell, you had to do that at some point. Obtaining the actual product, you had to get it, either manufacture it overseas or maybe in the US. There's telling people about it. And then we can talk a little bit about like LTV, increasing your order value. But I think that kind of falls into the first couple of categories of like, choosing the thing, obtaining the thing, and then telling people about the thing. Let's go through each, and like, I guess maybe we'll talk about your journey with feet. Like, how did you land on you were going to sell socks and then eventually expand to hoodies? Now you're doing full apparel and things like that.
Yeah. So it has to start with something that you're passionate about and that you really care. You have to have this burning desire. This is something you want to give to the world and put out in the world. So for me, my desire with feet was not about the actual product as we pivoted product. It was more the energy and the emotion. I wanted to make the world and make my younger self more comfortable in the world and happier in the world. I have this burning desire that humans are not living the right way. So many people are stressed, anxious, and just not enjoying life, right? Like, I don't think we're doing it right. And that's my mission. So whatever it is, whether it's your mission for people to stop drinking coffee or people to do more yoga, or whether you're really passionate about
climate,
shoes,
right.
or climate, or whatever it is, like, find something that you care about enough that when you have a roadblock, you're willing to push through because you're so passionate about whatever it is. Otherwise, it's not going to work because there's going to be roadblocks. You need that extra passion to push through those. So find a product that you like, that you actually care about, and a story and a message that you care about.
Does it matter how many of that product exists? Like, there's a million companies that sell hoodies, maybe that not that many that specifically dedicate their business to hoodies, but like, every brand has hoodies. Like, was that a roadblock for you? Is that something you thought about?
Never, honestly, because it's like, I'm a firm believer, like almost everything exists. And if you invent something new, you'll invent it it'll be new for 6 months before everyone starts ripping you off and it's the same. Like, it's very hard to have a very different product. It's the emotion and energy behind it. And that's where you have to be unique, and you have to be very authentically you with whatever it is you're doing. So I don't think it matters if it exists or not, but if you have something that you're passionate about, passionate enough to continue to push and bring it to the world, that's where you start. And then from there, it goes, okay, how do I make a prototype? And whatever product you're selling, it has to be good. And it's okay if it's not perfect the first time around. It has to be good. Where I see too many people lose their shirts in e-commerce is they'll go and then they're like, I have an idea for a brand. And then they'll go and spend thousands of dollars incorporating it and getting a trademark and setting up the legal structure. And then they'll spend, thousands of dollars on a design firm, making a logo, making the brand. They'll buy a website URL for thousands of dollars. And then they'll go order thousands of dollars of product. So they're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes $100,000 in the hole before they even sold the product. And what happens is they put these big orders and then they end up filling up their garage with whatever it is. And they go, shit, I can't really sell it. So that's not the way I think anyone should do it. And start by making some as scrappy as possible, as limited quantity as possible, some samples, some prototypes. Then from there, just start selling them. Start selling to your community, your friends. And if you can kind of attach it to a community, it's better. So a good example is
colleges, like you were doing.
Yeah, colleges is great, right? Because college people all kind of feel the same thing. Or if you have a yoga class you go to and you have a community of yogis that you all like, and everyone there's complaining about always slipping on their mat. And it's like, okay, I'm going to make a non-slip yoga mat. And boom, you start giving it to your community and you start that way. That's the best way to build something organically.
What does the actual process look like for iterating on the product? Because I imagine the first one, maybe the strings were too long, or you thought it was going to be soft, but it actually wasn't that soft. Like, how many prototypes do you go through before you say, and how do you ultimately decide, like, now this is ready for, whatever production?
Yeah, so it's never ready for production. The first sample is always horrible. So is the second, so is the third. And when I look at previous generations of our product, I hate it. Even our current product that we're selling right now, I hate it. Because you're always nitpicking the ways you can improve it. It's constant improvement. So, a good example is this. So we sold 5,000, we started by selling Nike socks and Adidas socks that we had pressed designs on. Then we were like, oh, let's make these in bulk overseas. So we found a factory in China, flew out to China, found these factories, sock factories, started making these socks in China and ordered 5,000 pairs of socks from this factory. That did well. We sold them at $10 a pair. This is in college, and made $50,000 from that. Then you have to double it again. So then we take those at $50,000 and go buy 25,000 pairs of socks. Because it's like every time in this business, you're reinvesting your profits.
Yeah.
So those 25,000 pairs of socks came, and the factory, they just sent the socks without elastic. So I'm not kidding. The socks, you couldn't pull them apart. They were literally, I'm trying to think of an example, it's like a shirt. It had no stretch in it. And the socks, you could barely get them on your feet. And I was like, fuck, we've tried so hard on this brand for a year. We sold $50,000 of product. All that money just went into these socks. And now it's like, you can't get these socks off your feet. And then, so the product always is going to have issues. And we had an option. It's like either sell these socks that don't work or go out of business. And it's like, we told the customers, hey, we have to sell these because here's the product, blah, blah, blah. And it's funny, all my friends, they would literally use scissors at night to cut the socks off their feet because they couldn't get them off. But
no.
You just got to do what you got to do. So yeah, product, even today we have product that I'm not proud of. So the product will never be perfect. Just do your best and keep making it better.
You hear about the manufacturers, first of all, so you've experienced manufacturing in China. Is that where you manufacture today?
Yeah, we do all over the world. China has some of the best infrastructure. So it's interesting because I was very adverse to manufacturing in China. We made all of our hoodies at first in the United States, in Los Angeles. The quality was actually better overseas. They had better technology, better machinery, and better quality control. So we manufacture all over. We do a lot in China.
Is it true that most of the fast fashion brands like H&M, Zara, whatever, kind of all go to the same manufacturers to do this?
Everyone goes to the same manufacturers. Like Zara.
Okay. And how many are there? Are there 5?
Oh, no. There's obviously massive manufacturing companies. End of the day, a manufacturer, there's not that much differentiation between someone that manufactures for H&M and a luxury brand. So if you think about it at a high level, what is a manufacturer? What goes into a product at a high level? especially in clothing. You start with fabric. So it depends on where you're sourcing the fabric. Most manufacturers don't actually source the fabric. So you're sourcing from a vendor. So you're buying fabric in bulk somewhere. So you're buying cotton or whatever it is in bulk from someone. You're bringing in that fabric and you're working with that fabric. Then at the manufacturer level, you're cutting and sewing your design. So like, for example, the shirt I'm wearing, this will be a massive roll of fabric. Then it gets dyed. So now it's blue. And then it's cut and sew. So this shirt, for example, has 3 pieces of fabric on it.
Yeah.
You have, or this is actually four pieces. You could see the seam. So this is the first piece that gets cut. And it's like, you do that. And then you have the seams and you have like, that's when you can kind of tell the quality between factories. But yeah, it's fascinating to start deep diving into like what goes into a t-shirt that we wear every day. Like most people don't even know how that's made. And that's mind blowing to me.
Okay, so you eventually moved offshore. Then you started working with a bunch of manufacturers all over the world. Then there's the step of like, okay, you get the product. Does it all just arrive and then you have to figure out how to distribute it? Or like there's a logistics element of this that obviously you use third parties for. But like, how does that actually go down?
Yeah, so product gets finalized in factory and ship ready. There's 2 ways you could do it. FOB is when you pay like freight on board. So you'll pay them and then you'll pay a third party like shipping company to get it there. Or DDP, which is duties and something else paid, which will get it to you. They put it on a boat, they ship it in. Most product in the California or West Coast region goes through Long Beach port. So it gets to Long Beach. Then we take it to another third. So it goes from manufacturer to another third party who ships it over. The freight forwarder gets received by another third party, which is our third party logistics company, which is our warehouse that we use. We can outsource 3PL. So what they're called, they receive the product, they scan it into their system. It gets uploaded to our backend system in our Shopify, and then it's available for sale. Customer will buy it and we'll ship to customer.
Okay. So you're not actually doing most of that work. It's all just kind of like automated processes that are happening on the back end.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're definitely overseeing a lot of vendors and third parties, which is it's a ton of work. There's interesting. It's like in direct consumer companies, Harry's and Dollar Shave Club are the perfect example for this. Like Harry's decided to make their full on factory and have it all under their roof, and then Dollar Shave Club and most of the other e-commerce brands would outsource. So it's interesting. There's a couple different routes to take. It's hard to have your own factories, manufacturing, and warehouse if you don't have large investment.
Yeah,
because the CapEx to build a lot of stuff is really expensive. So what most e-commerce companies do, and like I know a ton of e-commerce companies that are one guy sitting in his apartment doing tens of millions of dollars in revenue using all these different third parties and not even leaving his apartment ever. So it's there's many ways to do it.
Have you guys run into any snafus with like third party people doing this stuff for you? They ship to the wrong place, or I mean, I'm sure that stuff happens all the time and you deal with it with customer service, but like big things at scale?
All of the time things happen. And it's like the craziest stuff that's like unimaginable, where it's like the truck caught on fire on the way that I was shipping with your product and now it's delayed a month. And you're like, what? The truck caught on fire? Like did our inventory catch on fire? Like what happened? Or like, it's just, there's so many things and like different stories from different friends, right? Like that I've heard. It's like I was talking to one friend who manufactures product, and it's like, he said ISIS took over his factory and his product's delayed now. I'm like, wait, ISIS? Like,
so there's like the logistics stuff. That's not the sexy stuff, but it's super important. That's probably would you say that's where most of your mental bandwidth goes in terms of running the business? Is like dealing with mostly oversight for what are mostly third-party vendors and people that are managing the product, shipping and things like that.
It was for a while. And that really dragged me down and drained me, because I started a business to be creative and think outside the box and to dream. I ain't started to be, I'm not a logistic. I don't started to like oversee different people logistically.
Right. Be dealing with ISIS. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was really draining for a long time. Luckily, I hired an amazing COO who's taken a lot of this off my plate, because as a founder, when you're working in the business, you're not working on the business. And when I'm dealing with factories being overtaken by ISIS and trying to find a solution to ship and calling different people in India to see if ISIS is going over there next or whatever's going on, like I can't think about the brand. I can't think about creative campaigns. I can't think about posting on social media or anything else. So it's really important to be able to keep working on the business, not just in the business.
I like that. All right, let's talk more about the creative stuff because you're really good at this. And I know you have some hot takes about how brands work with influencer marketing. Is influencer marketing your main channel? Do you do a lot of paid, the iOS thing? Like what's the current state of how Feet operates from a marketing and like telling people about your product? And what are some ways that you've like sort of been unique and experimental with telling people about these hoodies?
Yeah. So with marketing, the interesting part is like, once it becomes mainstream, it doesn't work anymore because everyone starts doing it. And it's like, it's a game of trying to find a honey hole before anyone else gets there and getting as much honey out of that hole before everyone starts to swarm. So I try to stay ahead of the curve on it. I mean, honestly, that's why I've been posting and being so active on TikTok. So I'm like, there is something on this platform that other brands aren't doing. And I think that's where we could actually win. TikTok's a really interesting channel. A lot of the brands, they don't have the resources to be able to go. They don't know how to do TikTok. They don't speak TikTok. They're still, you see their ads, like they're posting like very pretty images as an ad on TikTok. And it's like, that doesn't work.
Right. It's too highly produced. It doesn't feel authentic
at all.
It happened fast though. I got to say like this shift of people like being allergic to this like inauthentic, highly produced stuff. Like it seemed like a very fast shift around the time of COVID.
It happened really fast. Because these brands, like when I look at the history of clothing and consumer brands, it's like pre-2015, so pre-Facebook, Shopify, e-commerce, as a man, if you wanted a pair of shorts, athletic shorts, you went to the mall. That was essentially your only option.
Right.
And then you can go to Nordstrom's, you can go to Dick's Sporting Goods, and then your options were Under Armour Nike or Adidas shorts. And then Under Armour came in and innovated a little bit. Like, oh, that's the cool new trendy brand. Those are your only options. Now today as a guy, like in 2015, what happened with Facebook and all these companies popping up, all these companies popped up and said, oh, we have 4-way stretch. We make our own fabrics. We are different. We cut out the middleman. And it's became the sea of noise of every company doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So there's all this inauthentic noise and copycats. So you have to stand out and be unique and authentic. So I think that's why people got kind of fatigued of those types of brands saying, 4-way stretch, innovative fabric, sustainable.
This thing's going to solve all your problems and save your life. It's like, no, it's not. And I think one thing that you do well on your page, founders ask me this all the time, like, should I have a TikTok? Should I be on the TikTok? I don't necessarily think there's like a silver bullet answer, but if you have the knack for creating content, it's absolutely advantageous, especially if you're able to do like the storytelling stuff. I remember one example that I really liked was like when you opened up your first brick and mortar shop, you kind of like documented the entire process from start, literally like buying the real estate, gut renovating the whole place, painting the walls. Like now I feel a level of attachment. Like I was kind of there. I was, and I was walking in Santa Monica the other day when I texted you, I was like walking by the Feet store and I felt a little bit of like an emotional, like, oh my God, it's like almost like this thing I've seen on TV and I'm seeing it in real life. And that's a hard thing. It's a soft skill, but like if you're able to do it effectively, I think it's a really good way to win on TikTok today.
I think that's the future of brands. The future of brands, you have to feel like you're a part of it.
It bodes well for me. So I'm glad you feel that way.
It's true though. But even like with what you're doing and a lot of the stuff you do on the branded content, like I resonate with the brand because I like your content and I like you. And like, if I knew a founder that was raising capital, I would say, hey, go talk to these guys because they're cool. They're personable.
Yeah.
It's really important. And people talk about this new creator economy and all brands are going to be replaced by creator-led brands. And you see Logan Paul with Prime or Mr. Beast and Feastables. And you see these creator-led brands making massive disruption in the marketplace because you feel a part of it. And that's what consumers want.
Did you see the Mr. Beast thing with opening the burger shop?
Yeah, that was nuts. He had like 10,000 people there or something crazy, right?
Insane.
Yeah, but that's the power. Like Mr. Beast could start any company and be like more successful than any of because everything else you could outsource besides the brand and storytelling. And he could tell the story behind it and make it engaging.
Any last sort of like things that you feel like Feet has done uniquely well or like major milestone moments, major things that you've done in a brand in a unique way and found these like honey holes from a marketing perspective?
I think the most unique thing that Feet has done that I've done is just being authentic and being comfortable putting yourself out there. And that's my biggest advice to any founder, entrepreneur, anyone thinking about doing anything. It's just like, as someone who has been knocked down many, many times, like it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. So like, just go out there and like be comfortable, like putting yourself out there. And it's a muscle that you build. And then that is the most valuable thing.
Yeah.
And it's authenticity. Even with our customers, like I speak directly to our customers via email, via content all the time. And I tell them like, this was a really hard year for us. We ordered too much of this inventory. We thought this would sell and it didn't. So now we're going to hook you up with it.
That's awesome.
And thank you. This is really helping us.
I love that.
Brands don't normally say that. Like brands don't say like, shit, we got screwed here. Like, please help us out. But it's a relationship.
That's another pillar of the content that you put out, which I think resonates a lot, is the behind the scenes. Is like, we're not like some, we're humans that are sitting in a store or factory or in my home office. We work with manufacturers, shit goes wrong. And when you open up that, then I think customers become a lot more empathetic when their order is 2 days late. And then you're like, oh, but I get it, right? Taylor talked about how there's problems sometimes.
Humans are all humans. It's like, I think a lot of people dehumanize businesses and they're like, oh, it's a business, it's a corporation, fuck them. Like, I'm going to return everything and leave a bad review and they should owe me money. It's like, no, we're humans too. We're all trying to figure it out.
The counter to put yourself out there is that people are really mean on the internet. Like you have to have thick skin to deal with the comments. And I'm sure you've even gotten some shit for things you've posted of like, oh, dude, whatever it is, some fucking stupid trolls on TikTok.
All the time. But it's just the internet. That's just people at scale, right? And it's like, if you reach millions of people, 0.001% of them are going to be horrible, angry people. And that's the law of large numbers. So you can't really let that like affect you.
Amazing, man. Well, thanks so much for going through all this. I've learned a ton. I'll have to brainstorm what my product that I'm going to sell is going to be. I'll shoot you my ideas. But is there anything else you wanted to share, plug, whatever?
No, that's it. You're a natural interviewer. I think I've done a ton of podcasts and people don't normally listen. So I appreciate you listening and happy to be on and excited to continue to watch you grow.
Appreciate it, man.